Hey, it's Jacob. Welcome to this new video. Today I'll talk about Python basics in 5 minutes. I'll tell you everything you need to know before getting started. Maybe you've looked on the internet and you didn't find what you were looking for. Maybe you found tons of things and you didn't know what was true and what wasn't. I mean, it's the most confusing thing when there are just too much information and you don't know where to start. You feel lost and you don't know what to do. And maybe you heard that to learn Python you needed to be good at math, and you're not good at math. I mean, it makes people feel depressed because it's like they shouldn't even try because they're just not good enough. Also, people say that it takes a long time to learn Python, and maybe you feel like you don't have the time for it, or maybe you don't know where to get started. And it might make you feel overwhelmed because there is just too much resources out there. You don't know which one to choose. Now, in 5 minutes, you'll be ready to get started programming. Specifically, I'll talk about the 5 myths people believe in that simply are not true. And what you really need is an in-depth understanding of what Python programming is and isn't. So let me start with the first myth. Python is hard to learn, or you need to be good at math. And I'm asking you the question, like, where do you need linear algebra to learn Python? The reason why people say that is because it's learned at school, and the educational system doesn't know where to put the Python course, so they put it inside a math course. It's not related to math at all, but since it's in the math course, then the math teacher is going to give you math problems to solve with Python. Now, it's possible that you will need math at some point with Python. The difference are, first, it's really rare, and second, there are modules for it. And the modules have done the math for you. What does that mean? This means you never actually need it in the real world. Because in the real world, programming and math are actually really opposite. Math is theoretical, and programming is practical. Alright, so you don't need math. But is Python hard to learn? It's not hard to learn for 3 reasons. 1, it's popular, meaning it's easy to find help and documentation. 2, it's used by numerous companies, which means it's reliable. By comparison, 1 line of code on average in Python is 6 lines of code on average in the programming language C. Second myth, you need to be a programmer or a developer to learn Python. The reason why it's not true is, first, I'm not. I'm actually an electrical engineer, which has nothing to do with a software engineer, a programmer, or a developer. Another thing to keep in mind is for programmers, they are not the end user of their software. If you're going to be the end user, meaning that you're going to use the software for yourself, then it's going to be a very different kind of programming. Programmers are selling their code or selling their skills to create code to a company, so they don't actually care to use their software. So instead of doing programming exercises like programmers do at school, create a software that is useful for you as the end user. Myth number 3. It takes time before creating something useful. Well, create a Hello World program. That's a program that displays Hello World on the screen. That's the first thing you'll see every time when you want to learn Python. And then they'll show you the outline, which is learning the syntax, conditional and control flow, the functions, the while and for loops. What is the problem with that approach? It is the most boring thing in the world, and it does take time before getting somewhere useful. Plus, if you learn things that way, you won't remember anything, because these are general programming skills and you don't need them to create a specific software that is useful. The truth is, you don't need a lot to get started, because most of the things you'll find will be useless. So what should you do instead? Either something small and useful, or something that is a small part of a bigger project. Ideally, you want to do both. You can click on the video that appears right now if you need ideas. Myth number 4. VBA is better suited for Excel than Python. The reason why that's not true is, 1, VBA is not user-friendly, Python is. 2, if you use Excel for something else that requires taking control over the keyboard or your mouse, then it's game over. You can't do that. 3, Python uses the same API as VBA to talk to Excel. If you don't know what an API is, it's just something that a programming language uses to talk to a software. So what should you do instead of using VBA? Use Python with the module OpenPixel. It's an easy module and it can do 90% of what VBA does. Myth number 5, watch a 10-minute YouTube tutorial to learn the main command lines. The reason why it's not true is because the main main command lines will depend on what you'll do with Python. For example, if you're manipulating Excel, the basic command lines are very different from working with text files. You'll waste time learning things you'll never use. What should you do instead? Learn about the first step of your project, whatever it is you want to do. For example, if your project is creating an Excel report and sending it by email, well, step number 1 is sending an email or reading an Excel file. These are the foundations of your software. Learn the command lines and build on it. So now that you know how to get started, Python is not hard if you don't make it hard, learning from cheap or free content. It might also take you time to filter out what's good and what's not. That's the reason why I created a free online course to help you get started right now as fast as possible. You can click on the link in the description to get it. Have a great day and see you in the next video.